Torches flickered in the darkness, casting shadows on the blood-stained walls of the cave. The goblin raised its hand after launching a frenzied barrage. A lone figure sprinted through the mob of monsters, sword raised and gleaming. Goblins charged at him, eyes wild with desperation. In front of one frozen creature, a surge of blue energy shimmered. The goblins froze, entranced by the radiant light. Blood dripped from his blade. Around him, only corpses remained. He turned back and shouted, asking Castle how much longer he'd be. The stranger pushed off the ground, steadying himself, and muttered that he'd had enough. Swinging his blade, Castle told him to quit rushing and carve down a wave of goblins. Facing another trembling monster, he declared this would be the last one. With a roar, Castle unleashed a powerful strike. Then he laughed bitterly, sticking out his hand. "Didn't think we'd waste this much time here," he said. The guy nodded, saying the goblins enchanted by the master were down too. Castle glanced around and asked where the master even was. The guy promised to find out. But then, the ground rumbled. A massive orc loomed behind them. The guy stiffened. Something's not right. Something happened to him. Castle stretched out his hand. "You're overthinking it." "Kai, relax." But he paused. "Wait, why is the ground shaking?" A hulking beast emerged from the depths, its eyes glowing with fury. Castle's eyes widened in alarm. Is that an orc?" The creature let out a monstrous roar. Castle's instincts kicked in. He had to retreat, had to find the master. But instead, he leapt forward with incredible speed. Kai shouted, begging him to wait, but Castle pressed on. "I've got this," he declared. The orc swung its massive axe. Castle, confident, assumed he could handle it too. But the strike came with brutal force. Sparks flew. A gigantic hammer appeared from nowhere and smashed him directly in the head. Castle crashed to the ground. Kai turned, furious. "You idiot! You could have died!" Mana swirled in the air, glowing blue. The stranger raised his staff. A torrent of energy blasted into the orc. As the beam struck, he held up a black card and told Kai and Castle to fall back. They looked up at him in disbelief. "We can handle this," they insisted, calling out to their lord and commander. The black card glowed gold as the stranger lifted it overhead. Kai and Castle stared, stunned. A massive, fiery sphere took shape. In the air. "Is that a fireball?" one asked. The guy hurled it. The orc shielded its face too late. The explosion rocked the cave. Castle dropped to one knee, dazed. "I can't believe it. He's an incredible magician." The stranger appeared beside him. "You all right?" The guy nodded, drained. "Used up all my mana on that one." The stranger helped him up. "Still, you did great." The guy hesitated. "You really think so?" He looked down, mind clouded with doubt. "It's funny. I used to only dream of being at this level." He sighed, recalling the past. "I used to do nothing. Just sit under a blanket, hiding from everything." Then, a memory surged forward. 3 months earlier, a faint blue light seeped from the cracks of his apartment door. It began to glow. A portal had formed, right in his living room. The door transformed into a gateway to the dungeon. He was trapped inside his own home. At first, he was fascinated, but that wonder quickly turned to terror. He walked through torch-lit tunnels, adrenaline pumping. He felt like a fantasy hero until reality hit. Goblins swarmed him. One lashed out. He remembered fleeing, running for his life as poison seeped into his wounds. He collapsed, bloodied and broken. Bandages soaked red. He hovered at death's edge for days. Then a message appeared before him. "Congratulations. You survived." He had earned the title Dungeon Explorer. He curled up under the covers afterward, terrified. He never dared enter again. He tried to reach out for help, posted online, begged for someone to believe him. But nobody did. The police? Pointless. Eventually, he found a forum. People like him. Survivors. He hovered over a market section, finding not just tips or guides, but real quests. One quest stood out. Clear a low-difficulty dungeon within a year. Reward, 1,000,001 and a low-grade item. He remembered the glowing quest window. There were numbers painted on the wall, enro 795. That was the ID of the dungeon, his apartment. He only had to clear it, with others. But fear gripped him. The light from his screen illuminated his hesitant face. They'll probably do fine without me. He never joined them, couldn't work up the courage. Still, he had to eat, so he killed goblins, and each corpse gave him money. Notifications dinged his phone. Transfers complete. With that income, he bought food and gear from the site. One day, he came across a post. An orc snarled in the image attached. The further you went into the dungeon, the more horrifying the enemies. He decided right then he'd stick to weak goblins. The memory of sitting at his desk, trembling, haunted him. Are there only 5 of us left? He had asked himself. 3 months passed this way, and then he started thinking, why were there so few left? Had the rest died? Is this what I'm supposed to do? He wondered aloud. Just kill goblins. Forever? His gaze drifted to the door. A vision flashed in his mind. A goblin barging into his apartment. He snapped back to the present. Something needs to change. While browsing the site, he found it. A message. Someone else had the same quest. The message was a rally cry. Let's fight the boss together. Tomorrow. Eyes wide, he clenched his fists. I'm not dying like this. There are still others out there. And there's hope. The next day, he sat in front of the monitor, fear in his eyes. A message flashed across the screen. 130 participants. Just one. He swallowed hard. 10 days remaining. He screamed. Goblins shuffled through the narrow tunnel, hidden beneath a blanket. The man stayed perfectly still, watching them with tense eyes. Nearby, the main character suddenly burst into the midst of the monsters, catching them off guard. One goblin snarled in rage, but the main character struck its head without hesitation. With a powerful swing, he knocked down several others. The remaining goblins stood frozen, stunned by the sudden assault. Locking eyes with another goblin, the main character shouted that this would be the last. Holding his shield firmly, he charged. The shield slammed into the creature's face, ending it instantly. He exhaled deeply, wiping sweat from his brow. Then, calmly, he drew a knife and cut his finger. Blood dripped onto a paper with ancient symbols lying on the goblin's corpse. A soft blue glow shimmered above it. The main character gave a faint smile. This was working. Blue energy sparked between him and the dead goblin. Placing a hand to his temple, he muttered that something felt off. Dizzy, he stared at the monster's body and questioned why everything was spinning. Now sitting in front of his monitor, lost in thought, he muttered that he was utterly alone. He had tried to ignore the truth, tried to sleep it off, but nothing helped. Desperate, he scoured a website for something, anything that could save him. Cruel messages flooded his inbox, wishing him death. He found no help. Burying his face in his hands, he cursed the world. He had no other options. Then a chilling realization struck him. If he couldn't clear this dungeon, he'd be trapped in it forever. His eyes flicked to his phone. With a mix of surprise and curiosity, he reviewed his skills. Reading the stats displayed on the screen, he noted 2 keywords: mana and concentration. Did this mean he was a wizard? According to a specialized app from the site, he could view information about himself. An image filled his mind. Goblins surrounded by a glowing blue aura. He discovered that with his mana and concentration stats, he could tame goblins, even control them. At first it worked with one, then with more. But now he was drained. His mana gone. Sweat dripped down his face. He and a goblin glanced toward the dungeon's dark corridor. both sensing something. The other monsters grew uneasy. The main character muttered that he had to go back. He begged for help. Suddenly, sunlight poured into his apartment. Looking down, he let out a shaky breath. He was back home. He looked around the room, thinking, if only. Hugging the goblin at his side, he stared at the warm light flooding in. He felt dazed. Thanks to the mysterious sight, he had begun to understand something vital. People had different classes. Magical ones were rare, especially valuable in group raids. A notification appeared, only one member in the group. Another reminder. His fist slammed into the wall. Veins bulged from his face as regret took hold. If he hadn't frozen back then, if he had just joined, they might have stood a chance. He remembered the invitation, the message asking to team up. Tears hit the floor. If only he had accepted. Now on his knees, head bowed, he whispered that maybe he wouldn't be alone. The goblins stared at him, puzzled. A new quest alert flashed. 272 days left until the raid. 3 days had passed since Kim Hyen-bi began clearing the dungeon. He was sleeping now, body curled on the floor. Suddenly he stirred. Grabbing his club, the main character made his way to the door. His eyes locked on the handle. He paused. Did I just imagine that? He asked softly. His heart raced. Kim Hyen-bi was terrified.